Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is breaking to the downside from this massive bearish pattern, which is starting to wipe out a bunch of long positions from the market. But in the short term, we do have some hope with this Bitcoin chart flashing an oversold signal. So I'll be talking about all of that in just a moment, alongside Ethereum now starting to break below critical support, alongside Chainlink and Solana also breaking below key support in the short term, while XRP is now invalidating this previous breakout to the upside. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin chart, and just over the last one day, we've seen another weekly candle close, which means over the last one day, we've actually just seen another drop off here in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, essentially showing a continued reduction in bullish momentum. So right now, obviously, we're still losing a lot of bullish momentum during this bull run here. And in fact, at the current trajectory, in perhaps 1 or 2 weeks from now, if we continue how we're going in 1 or 2 weeks from now, we could end up seeing a bearish crossover in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, potentially in the next couple of weeks. And of course, if that confirms, that would obviously be a bearish signal, because the last time we saw a bearish crossover in this indicator on this time frame, that was around the start of May or end of April 2024. And what came next was essentially a larger correction, or a bit of a downtrend really, for the next half a year approximately, but not necessarily the end of the larger massive bull market as we could see. But essentially, as of right now, we're still losing a lot of bullish momentum, which has been the same story as I've been saying every day over the last month or so. We're losing a lot of bullish momentum right now in this indicator. And of course, we did see something quite similar around 1 year ago. We lost a lot of bullish momentum, but that was not necessarily the end of the larger bull run. Of course, it's just a bit of a short-term signal as of right now, telling us we're looking neutral to bearish in the imminent short term. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, of course, as of right now, this massive bearish divergence on the weekly time frame is still currently confirmed. As I've been saying every day over the last month or so, this is most likely going to result in either some choppy sideways price action or a pullback in the price of Bitcoin in the coming weeks. And of course, over the last few weeks, that has already started to play out exactly as expected. And as of right now, it is still active. So I've been saying, at least for the next couple of weeks, potentially at the very least, we're likely going to see this continue to play out. So expect either some more choppy sideways price action at the very least, so short-term bullish and bearish price action just chopping around sideways, or potentially a bit more of a pullback in the coming 1 or 2 weeks as the most likely scenario in the somewhat shorter term. But instead of just talking about these short-term moves, because of course we can see short-term dumps, crashes, corrections, and things like that during a larger bull market, but if we're instead talking about the bear market versus bull market, these much larger moves on the larger time frames, then taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, and technically speaking, Bitcoin is still playing out this bull market signal, because of course in the past, in previous bull markets, we have seen crashes much larger than the one we're seeing right now. Basically, in fact, some people would not even call this a crash, just a minor pullback during a bull market. Because in case you're new to all of this, of course, some of you OGs out there would remember the 2017 bull market, and during that bull market back there, we saw multiple crashes along the way of around 30 to 40% to the downside from high to low during the larger bull market. And so just keep that in mind. Even if we dump 30 to 40% from the high to the low, technically speaking, that has previously happened during larger bull markets in the past. And so simply based on this signal alone, this is telling us that we're still technically due to see a larger bull market throughout most of 2025, potentially at some point later in 2025 or mid 2025, for example. We may top out and start the bear market as one of the most likely scenarios, especially based on the 4-year Bitcoin halving cycles. But as of right now, of course, these two charts right here, the first two charts I shared in this video, and as I've been saying over the last month or so, are still telling us we're due to see a larger slowdown in the somewhat shorter term, in the short to mid term, as in talking about a number of weeks. But if we're talking about, say, 2 or 3 months from now, technically speaking, this chart and also this chart on the 4-day time frame, the super trend indicator, is still telling us we're in a larger bull market. So just keep that in mind. And so as I always say, understand the difference between the different time frames. If we're zooming into the somewhat shorter term, of course, in the smaller timeframes, we can look bearish while technically remaining within a larger bull market. So keep that in mind once again. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart right here, of course, we still have a lot of resistance at close to 102,000 based on this 1618 Fibonacci extension level at around 102,000. And of course, if we're zooming into the shorter term, right now the price of Bitcoin has already started a major break to the downside below this critical area of support, which at least in the short term is bad news for Bitcoin. But just before talking about this, if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take a lot of my trades over on BitUnex, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BitUnex below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link below this video, it'll take you to this page right here, which is a new exclusive bonus page, which you can only claim using that link. And so if you simply just use that link to make your account and then deposit just $100, you get a $20 bonus. Or if you deposit $1,000 on your new account, you get a 100 USDT bonus straight into your new account. But as an existing user, if you're not making a new account, you can also claim some exclusive bonuses as well if you're new or existing user. And so simply just making an account, whether you already made an account previously or if you're making a new account, but as long as it's using the link below this video, if you're trading on that account using that link, you can get some exclusive bonuses here, like a brand new iPhone or $200 in trading bonuses, for example. And so if you want to take a look at this for yourself, once again, it's the first link below this video. And remember, you can only claim these exclusive rewards if you use that link below this video to make your account and start trading on that account. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BitUnex, there is also Bybit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bybit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. But with that being said, taking a look at this Bitcoin chart on the 12-hour time frame, and as of recording this video, we've now officially confirmed a 12-hour candle close below this critical area of support, which was sitting in between around 92,000 to 93,000. So as we can see right here, we have confirmed at least one 12-hour candle close below 92,000. In fact, just below 91,000. And as of recording this video, we're currently in the process of retesting that area of support to potentially flip it into new resistance. So if we actually confirm some sort of rejection here, so essentially if we come up and then we fail to break out back above that area and instead we reject from that area, flipping it into new resistance, that would be another confirmation signal further confirming the break to the downside. And so the next 24 hours or so will be very telling for the price of Bitcoin. Of course, if we could see a quick break back above around 92 to 93,000 in the next 24 hours, then this could just be a fake out to the downside and we can potentially avoid a much further move towards the downside. But instead, if we simply just remain below this support over the next 1 day or so, and especially if we reject from that area over the next day, then of course, that's just extra confirmation confirming the break lower. And as for support levels to watch out for to the downside, we do have some support at close to 89,500, so just underneath 90,000, acting as a bit of short-term support at close to 90,000 really. But below that level, I would also be watching out for around 87,000 as another point of support. And as for resistance, once again, this area based on previous support could now become new resistance, sitting in between 92,000 to 93,000. And if we break out back above 93k, we could also find a small amount of resistance at around 95,000 as well. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart right here, of course, as of recording this video, we are seeing a break to the downside below the neckline for this bearish head and shoulders pattern. So this, of course, is the first sign of this pattern right here, obviously confirming, but ultimately we still need to actually see a daily candle close below around 92,000 in order to actually confirm this pattern right here on the daily time frame. So right now we're still waiting for that daily candle close, which happens in just a number of hours from now at exactly midnight UTC, in case you're wondering. And so that's why I said earlier, if in the next few hours or so, let's just say if we quickly break out back above around 92 to 93,000 and instead we confirm this daily candle close back above above, let's just say 93,000, then in that case, we could possibly avoid this pattern right here and avoid the bearish price target for this pattern, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So this is really the final 24 hours for Bitcoin, at least when it comes to the short-term moves. Remember, understand the difference between the different time frames. As I said earlier in the video, what's happening here in the short term doesn't necessarily impact the much larger bull market versus bear market. But at least when it comes to what we should be expecting in the coming days or weeks, the next 24 hours is really important for Bitcoin. And now if we end up confirming this break to the downside with a daily candle close below around 92,000, then in that case, the bearish price target for this pattern right here is sitting at around 80.5k, so in between 80,000 to 81,000. So from where we are right now, as of recording this video, at close to 91,000 give or take, to that price target, that's around an 11 to 12% move towards the downside. But of course, with a short position, for example, if you're taking this trading opportunity, that could potentially be more than a 100% profit with a 10x leverage short position, just for an example. So essentially, you could double your money during a bearish move. That is right, profit from bearish price action with something like a short position, for example. As always, not financial advice. I'm just letting you know how you can actually profit from a bearish move, just for an example. And so an example of a trading strategy would be, for example, placing some sort of short position here, especially if we see some confirmation. So if we see this daily candle close below 92,000, or especially if we reject from this area, flipping this previous support into new resistance, those will be signals I'll be watching out for to start accumulating a short position, or even add to a short position if we see more and more confirmation signals. And then of course, the point of invalidation for this trade would be a breakout back above around 92 to 93,000. So personally, I'd, let's just say, place some sort of stop loss just above the point of invalidation, so that in the worst case scenario for a short position, which would be a bullish move, if we invalidate the breakout, invalidate that trade right there, and break out back above around 93,000, that will just hit the stop loss in order to avoid any further losses. And then when it comes to taking profits, personally, I like to take profits around key levels of support when it comes to a short position. Once again, in case you're new to all of this, a short position makes money when the price goes lower. So for example, if we run into key support, there's the possibility the price could bounce around that level and start heading higher, which is why personally I like to take profits just before those key levels of support along the way to the downside, but not necessarily close the entire trade, just close a portion of the trade, take some profits out of a short position, and then of course leave the remainder of the trade open towards this price target right here, and then continue to take profits closer towards the price target. Usually I take profits just before the price target in case we slightly miss the price target. And also when it comes to my short-term trading strategy with these moves like this, personally, as the trade moves further and further into profits, personally I like to move my stop loss at the very least up towards my entry, so at break even, but ideally moving my stop loss further and further into profits, so that in the worst case scenario, if the trade turns bad, in the worst case scenario, I'm still coming away with profits because the price will just hit the stop loss, which is sitting in profits, and guarantee profits even in the worst case scenario. And so that's an example of a trading strategy that personally I will be looking to deploy right here, especially if we see more confirmation, those confirmation signals that I just mentioned earlier. And so just by using a simple trading strategy like that, we can actually profit during this dump in the price of Bitcoin, or really any crypto. You can trade these moves in the price of any crypto if you use those links below this video. Once again, check out those exchanges if you want to claim those extra bonuses using those links. But with that being said, if we're taking a look at the 4-hour time frame, right now we are starting to see an oversold signal flash on the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI, and the last few times we either entered into oversold or got very close to oversold on the 4-hour time frame, we were due to see at least a little bit of a bounce here in the short term. Now this is not necessarily a bullish trend reversal signal by itself, so for example, we may see a slight little bounce or a bit of choppy sideways price action and then a continued dump later on. But just be aware of the fact that we're getting close to oversold, at least on the 4-hour time frame, which means maybe sometime soon, maybe in the next few hours or over the next day, at some point sometime soon, we could likely see a very, very slight relief here, but not necessarily a massive bullish trend reversal. Once again, I do not expect a lot of bullish momentum here, and instead we might just see a slight little break followed by more bearish price action as a likely scenario. But just keep this signal in mind. And of course, if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, looking at the last 1 month of price action, right now we are in the process of wiping out a bunch of long positions with their liquidations that were sitting at around 91,000 approximately. So as we're wiping out a bunch of long positions, liquidating long positions, that's adding more sell pressure in the short term here. But of course, I've been talking about this exact scenario and these short-term risks for days now. In fact, for close to a week now, I've been talking about this bearish pattern, a break to the downside, a long squeeze, wiping out long positions. I've been preparing you for this move for days now on the channel since before all of this price action. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, and right now Ethereum is obviously following Bitcoin with a break to the downside. We're clearly breaking below around 3.2k approximately, which was significant support as we could see here. But now that we're well below 3.2k, the next major support to watch out for on the 3-day time frame is sitting at around 2.8k. And if we're taking a look at this 2-day Ethereum chart, of course, we're continuing to break to the downside below that area up there in between around 3430 to 3560. And so right now we're running into this area of support that's sitting in between 3000 to 3.1k. So we could find some support in this range right here. But if we break below 3000, honestly, expect a move fairly quickly down towards around 2.8k if we first confirm a break with candle closes below 3,000. And that 2.8k level, or really in between 2.7k to 2.8k, that will be very important support to watch out for if we first break below around 3,000. But ultimately, Ethereum and a lot of major altcoins out there will likely follow similar price action to Bitcoin. So of course, if Bitcoin continues this break to the downside towards this bearish price target, it will likely take most of the crypto market along with it. But remember, bearish price action isn't all bad news. For example, we can use short positions to profit along the way to the downside, or if you don't want to take any trades like that, you can simply just be patient and wait for some lower prices for better buying opportunities along the way to the downside to ultimately profit from some sort of recovery later on. And if we're taking a look at Chainlink on the 8-hour time frame, of course, Chainlink, just like a lot of crypto right now, is following Bitcoin along that break to the downside here. So we're already breaking below this key area of support with confirmation, which was sitting in between around $19.50 to $20.50. So right now we have confirmed that break to the downside with an 8-hour candle close. And the next support to watch out for as of right now is sitting at close towards around $17.50 to $17.60. Now that we're already starting to trade below around $18.50, which was a small amount of support right here. But if we start breaking below around $17.50, then in that case, the next support I'll be watching is sitting at just underneath $17 at around $16.90. And below that, I'll be watching around $16.30 as another potential point of support. But overall, like I said, for Ethereum, Chainlink will likely follow similar price action to Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin has a major bounce or major dump, expect something similar for Chainlink as well. So really just focus on Bitcoin right now in order to expect what is most likely going to happen for a lot of the major altcoins. But with that being said, if we're taking a look at Solana, it's pretty much the same story here for Solana as what I just said for Ethereum and Chainlink. And so right now, Solana is clearly breaking below this key area of support that was sitting in between around $180 to $184. But technically speaking, unlike Chainlink, Solana still needs to actually confirm this 8-hour candle close below 180 in order to actually confirm this break to the downside, at least on the 8-hour time frame. But at the time of recording this video, it is looking quite likely that this will end up confirming. And so in this case, if we confirm this break below 180, the next major area of support towards the downside is sitting in between 156 to 161. So really, we could potentially see a $160 Solana sometime soon in the next few days or in the next week or so if we actually confirm this break below 180, and especially if we flip this previous support into new resistance with some sort of retest like that, that would further confirm the break to the downside. And it's also worth noting that the 8-hour Solana RSI is getting quite close to oversold territories, which means if we start entering into oversold territories, we may end up seeing a slight little bounce or a little bit of a relief during this bearish move right here, but not necessarily the end of the bearish move. So it's possible to see a slight little bounce followed by more bearish price action later on once we reset the RSI a little bit, giving us more room to the downside later on. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the 12-hour time frame, just over the last one day, we've obviously now invalidated that previous breakout to the upside. So obviously that breakout did not last very long. But with that being said, if we're looking at the overall price structure on the 12-hour time frame, technically speaking, as of right now, despite invalidating the breakout above this line right here, we're still, at least at the time of recording this video, forming higher lows and higher highs for the price of XRP, which technically is still a short-term bullish trend. And remember, a bullish trend can contain pullbacks along the way up, basically during a bullish trend. And so ultimately, when it comes to the larger price structure here, or the trend for the price of XRP right now, I would really be focusing on these lows right here as a major point of support, a very critical level to watch out for XRP. And right now that's sitting at around $2.25, give or take. So we will likely find support around there if we continue this pullback right here. But if we start breaking below these lows, especially if we start breaking back below around $2.20, below this candle wick low right here, in the short term, obviously that would mean a possible trend reversal. So clearly not a good signal for the price of XRP in the short term if we break below these lows. But as of right now, we can technically still remain within a bullish trend if we see a bounce very, very soon. But just keep in mind, XRP, like a lot of altcoins, will likely follow somewhat similar price action to Bitcoin. So of course, while Bitcoin dumped over the last one day, XRP also saw some bearish price action here. So of course, if Bitcoin continues dumping, it will become very, very difficult for XRP to remain within this bullish trend. So keep that in mind. Also pay attention to Bitcoin to figure out what is most likely going to happen here for XRP. And as of right now, this previous line of resistance could once again act as a bit of resistance here in the short term at around $2.41. But if we break out back above $2.41, expect some resistance at around $2.49 to $2.50 and some more resistance at around $2.60 approximately, which is pretty much exactly where we rejected from. And of course, over the last few days since before that rejection, I have been talking around $2.60 to $2.61 as a major point of resistance based on this high right here. So of course that is still acting as resistance. But as I said earlier, bearish price action is not all bad. For example, we can use short positions to profit along the way to the downside, or if you don't want to trade, as I said earlier, you could simply just wait for potentially some lower prices in order to accumulate some XRP or any crypto at lower prices in order to benefit from some sort of bounce or recovery later on, which ultimately will very likely happen at some point later on. And remember, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, you might as well check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those extra exclusive bonuses. But with that being said, if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the prices are bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, you can profit from all of that price action by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.